can't stand me, period.
Correct. Belly in the second book made me spiritually angry. Look, this is my second The Summer I Turned Pretty video, and I feel like I was very fair in the first one, okay? I talked about the positives, I talked about the negatives, I did my comparison. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot less balance in this video. The number of times I had to stop reading to go for a walk to cool down was insane. I have not been this infuriated with a character since I did my You video. Belly is literally Joe Goldberg without the skill set to kill or stalk. Yes, I am aware that it is crazy for me as a grown man to have beef with a fictional teenage character, but you're gonna have to accept it, because I will spend this video explaining how beyond all reasonable odds, she has a toxic relationship with every single person in her life. It is literally one of those conspiracy web strings, but instead of a murderer being at the center, it's Hurricane Belly. Then again, maybe I'm alone in this, because this book has a high rating. How? Who? Why? I am not a hater as a general rule. I read the Twilight books and I had some good things to say about them. But this book, hear me out. Watch the video and then tell me I'm crazy in the comment sections if you want. But I don't think you will. So get ready for a rant. I will start with what I think is the most dysfunctional friendship in the whole series. Belly and Taylor. I gave Taylor so much flack in the first book, calling her a bad friend. But you know what? I've switched sides. I'm Team Taylor. Taylor may be a teenage girl who makes mistakes, but she genuinely does seem to care about Belly. She packs her nicer clothes to wear. She fed her ice cream during her depression period. She tries to set her up with Corey. Belly, on the other hand, with no exaggeration, hates her best friend. We had been best friends so long it was more like a habit, the kind of thing you don't really have a say in anymore. This does not sound like a person who is excited about her friendship. A big concept in the story is that Laurel and Susannah have been best friends for their whole lives. And I think that this is what Belly wants and thinks is normal. But then she doesn't seem to understand that you don't need to be someone's friend forever if you don't like them. She gives me the impression that she feels stuck with Taylor. Like a wart you want removed but can't afford the surgery. We can see a contrast in these two quotes. Taylor Jewel was a part of me and I was a part of her. I wondered if Taylor's and mine's friendship was made of the same stuff as theirs. Durable, impenetrable stuff. Somehow I doubted it. She outright says that she is sick of Taylor and that they fight a lot and say terrible things to each other. Things that can't be taken back. In her words, not mine. In the show, Taylor goes to Cousins Beach to support Belly during a very difficult time, and Belly is thrilled to have her there. Her best friend, her emotional cornerstone. In the book, Taylor does not go to Cousins. She invited Belly to a party, which Belly agreed to go to, at which point she calls Belly to be like, yo, the party's tonight, where you at? Then Belly is like, look, I can't go anymore, soz. We're actually throwing a house party at Cousins, so I'm gonna be doing that instead. Taylor is like, I don't want to party without you, so I can jump in my car and come to you. It's a long ass drive, but you know what? You're my friend, and we spend summers together. This will be so much fun. And Belly's like, no?
No, God, please, no!
Can you imagine your best friend ditches a party you invited her to in order to throw her own house party for a bunch of strangers that she didn't tell you about? You then offer to ditch your plans so you can spend her favorite holiday, the 4th of July, with her, and she's like, nah, buddy, you're good. I don't want you here. I'm not interpreting this. She literally says she was right. I didn't want her to come. Even Taylor calls her out, being like, you're being selfish. And instead of self-reflection, Belly's like, at least I didn't lose my virginity to a guy who shaves his leg, and hangs up. That is Taylor out of the story. Bish, bash, bosh, never to be seen again. Until the third book. I actually don't know what to say that I haven't said already. I've never been a teenage girl, but like, is that a normal friendship? I hope not, because that would be deeply, deeply sad. Taylor needs to find new friends. Next, she is a terrible sister. This point will be short because Stephen has like 3 lines in the whole book. Why? Because Belly took his 2 best friends to the summer house they all go to and left him out, and then was kind of glad that she wasn't the one that was left out for once. She also didn't invite him to the party. I also think it's interesting to note that a lot of the previous books she complained about Stephen. But when we switch to Jeremiah's POV, he actually thinks that Stephen is a good older brother. One of the 2 of them is delusional, and considering Belly's track record, I'm gonna put money that it's her. Next, She is a terrible daughter. When they used to visit cousin's house when they were younger, she complained that her mum was going to museums and activities with Susannah while she hung out with the brothers. Probably because at cousin's beach, us kids weren't at the center of the world. That is so self-centered. She's literally saying, I want to do my own thing, but I also want you to be sitting in the kitchen doing nothing in case I need you. God forbid you stop being the center of her universe for 5 seconds. But that isn't even the worst of it. Remember the context of this book. Laurel has lost Susannah, her best friend of 2 decades. She is having an emotional time. Is she handling it the best? Meh, she's trying to. Belly says she's dealing with Susannah's will, trying to get things done in order for her passing to be as smooth as possible. Is she depressed and withheld? Absolutely. Who wouldn't be after losing the person you love most in this world for so long? Yeah, Belly's not happy about that. It somehow made Belly lose trust in her. She wasn't the crying kind. Seeing her like that, like an actual person and not just my mother, it almost made me not trust her. She did not like the fact that her mum was having a hard time and being emotional despite an incredibly emotional situation. Now, if you think that is bad, there's also the other side of the coin, which is later in the book, she purposely demeans her mum in order to get a reaction out of her. Even when trying my hardest, I couldn't get the reaction I wanted from my mother. She literally says to her grieving mother, I wish Susannah was my mum instead of you. And this wasn't like a angry explosion, a moment she's gonna regret. She says she's been silently wishing it for years. Belly, sweetie, if Susannah was your mum, you couldn't date Conrad. I don't think you thought this one through, you obsessive shrew. Oh, I'm sorry you have a mum who loves you and expects things from you, including a little bit of patience during this difficult time. Like, all she wants is for you to go to school and be a decent person, God forbid. Honestly, her mum was going through it and Belly just made it worse. That being said, I'm about to play devil's advocate, because this part isn't Belly's fault. Belly's relationship with Susannah can be seen as quite toxic and manipulative, unintentionally but still. I am pretty sure this is what led to her obsession with Conrad. As I previously mentioned, Belly worships Susannah, even more so than her own mum. I believed everything Susannah said. The love they share is fair. Susannah is basically her aunt, and she made Belly feel seen and appreciated because she has an open heart and is a very caring person and is there for Belly. The problem is that her feelings for Susannah and her feelings for the boys are too intertwined. There was a quote I was meant to mention in the first video, but I forgot. And to be honest, I'm glad I forgot because now I can use it to prove this point. Susannah says,
Susannah told me that when I was born, she knew I was destined for one of her boys.
This is a weird thing to say at Cousin's Beach. Again, possibly the worst name for this love novel that's somewhat about not incest. Like, I know they're not blood related, but I don't know, Barry Allen and Iris, the same vibe for me. But that aside, this puts a ton of pressure on Belly. I think what happened is Belly wanted to make Susannah happy. I believed everything Susannah said. This means she subconsciously chose the boy she likes more, Conrad, and gave into the fantasy that Susannah sold her as her guiding light. That it is destiny. It not only explains her complete obsession with Conrad, but also why she keeps Jeremiah as a backup. I even have a quote from the book that completely proves me right, in case you doubted me. If I forgot Conrad, if I evicted him from my heart, pretended he was never there, it would be like doing those things to Susannah, and that I could never do. This is not a healthy method of thinking to end your situationship. Ironically, in my whole Belly rant section, I have to say this part isn't her fault. One of the last things that Susannah says to Belly is that she shouldn't give up on Conrad. And not gonna lie, that's kind of fucked up. The whole destiny thing probably felt more like banter amongst friends when they were younger, but the fact is she's dying. That puts a lot of pressure on the people who care about her to make her happy. A perfect example of this is Conrad. It's also manipulative to her. It's heavily implied that Conrad took Belly to the prom because his mum asked him to. The only time she showed having any energy or passion was when he's talking about his relationship with Belly. Like, how are you supposed to end things even if you wanted to, if it means watching the single glimmer of hope in your mum's life die before she does? I feel like that's something that anyone would struggle with. That being said, we can move on to Conrad, who, despite being in a sad, difficult situation, is also kind of being a tool. Remember when I compared Belly to Joe Goldberg? I stand by that statement. She is completely and utterly obsessed with Conrad. This isn't love, this is mental illness. That is not a term I use lightly. This is not Bridgerton levels. She literally said that every wish she makes on a shooting star, every birthday wish, every loose eyelash is to have Conrad. You don't have any dreams apart from being with Conrad. Okay, every point people make somehow ends up relating to Conrad. Every person is compared to Conrad. She is jealous of the relationship that Conrad has with her mum because they were so close when he was a toddler. Imagine being jealous of your mum having a good relationship with her best friend's son. Even at the funeral of one of the most important people in her life, Susannah, she is only thinking about Conrad, even before she finds out about his ex. In the first video, I didn't understand why Belly even liked Conrad, and this book not only did not answer that question, but also made any answer redundant. Because I don't care. They're not meant for each other. They have nothing in common. There is not a single scene that sold me on their romance. Not one moment that had me clutching my pearls like a southern woman from New Orleans. Honestly, at this point, I would judge Conrad for dating his stalker, and I would judge Belly for dating a boy who doesn't give a fuck about her. It would show zero self-respect. She tried to manipulate him into taking her to prom by claiming another boy invited her, which I'm not even sure worked because Susannah was somehow involved with them going to prom together. The exact quote to describe Conrad's feeling about prom was, "He didn't want me to go with some other guy, but he didn't want to go with me either." Now, to be clear, this is from Belly's perspective, so we don't know how accurate it is, but actions and words, he was not thrilled about taking her. When they get to the prom, he cares so little about her little games that he doesn't even remember the name of the person she was trying to use to make him jealous. He doesn't bring her a corsage, and he leaves early. He puts in some FaceTime and dips. I know that this is shown a certain kind of way in the show, a little bit more sympathetic towards Conrad, because Conrad is obviously going through it. But that is not the impression I got from the book. You could argue it's easier to portray his emotions on screen as we can visually see his turmoil and see that he's actually struggling, and in his own way he's trying to protect Belly. But if that's the case, it's on the author. If that is what she intended, she should have made it clearer. The way I understood it, he just didn't want to be there. This is not the big love she seems to think it is, and honestly, I'm starting to think that people are just gaslighting Conrad into thinking he likes Belly. Whenever someone asks him, "Do you like Belly?" and he's like, "No." And they're like, "Fuck you. Of course you do. What are you talking about? You love her." And I don't know, man, at 18, I'd start to question things too. Like, maybe I am full of shit. Maybe I do love her. But from Belly's side, she is still playing games to get a rise out of him. I mentioned the prom jealousy situation, but also the very messed up moment of Conrad finding Jeremiah and Belly kissing. One of her first thoughts was literally, "Wasn't this what I wanted? To make his heart hurt the way he'd made mine?" Here's an idea. It's a crazy idea, but hear me out. Maybe don't kiss a boy who genuinely cares about you to hurt his brother. This is not what they mean by 2 birds, 1 stone. Since we're talking about Jeremiah, I don't think that Belly spent enough one-on-one time with Jeremiah in the books to do any kind of damage. Like, I know in the show they spend a lot of time together, but in the book it's mostly group sessions. Even then, she still manages to mess up and be a bad friend. Jeremiah says that she stopped checking in on him after his mum died. Imagine one of your best friends who knew her better than anyone just ghosts you because she's too obsessed with your brother to give you any kind of thought. Also, Belly's quite shallow in the books. Like, she constantly compares herself to other girls and how attractive she is compared to them. And I think a big reason she likes Jeremiah is social validation. He's a popular guy and he's a good looking guy, and all these girls are kind of thirsting over him now. And I'm pretty sure that's the reason she starts giving him any sort of attention, despite clearly still being obsessed with his brother. I think I have spent enough time ripping on this girl. I feel like I've made my point. She's a terrible friend, a horrific daughter, and a menace to the Fishers household. Their family will never be the same again after her. Look, I don't want to be a dick. If you like the book, more power to you. I understand I'm not the target audience. I'm not a teenage girl. But like, I also understood the appeal of Bridgerton, and I'm not the target audience of that. And to a certain extent, I even understand the appeal of the first The Summer I Turned Pretty book. It's a sort of fantasy of having a glow up and getting all the people who've ignored you all this time. I get it. We've all had that fantasy. The author obviously created something that resonated with enough people that she got an Amazon show. That being said, I don't understand the appeal of this book. Why do people like it? There is no romance, as the first kiss happens in chapter 41. There's no real plot, because unlike in the show, the house being sold gets resolved very quickly. It mostly focuses on 3 dull characters, Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. There's very few other characters in this story. It's literally just the diary of an obsessive stalker who's a terrible friend, guest starring Jeremiah. If you like this book, please explain it to me in the comment section. I will be fair. I won't mock, I won't hate, I will happily hear you out and debate you. Maybe you can change my mind. Honestly, I hope you do, because at this point, this book has made me a worse person. Hope feels further away than it once did. And I don't like that. That is enough for one day. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed listening to a grown man have a mental breakdown over fictional characters. And if you do like that, please like, comment, subscribe. There'll be plenty of content like that coming out soon. In the meantime, check out my other videos and have a great day. See you in the next video.